25 October 1944, 0230 in the black heart of the Surigao Strait, Philippine Islands. The night is so dark that the horizon has vanished. Only the phosphorescent wake of ships and the red glow of cigarette ends betray life aboard the Imperial Japanese Navy's Southern Force. Vice Admiral Shoichi Nishimura steams north aboard the heavy cruiser Mogami, his two battleships Yamashiro and Fuso trailing astern like ancient samurai in iron armor. Their mission is sacred: punch through the strait, fall upon the American landings in Leyte Gulf, and die gloriously if necessary. Radar screens aboard the flagship remain blind. Japanese optics strain through the tropical night, confident that surprise belongs to the battleship. Then, from the darkness ahead, white fingers of searchlights stab the sea. 38 kilometers away, an impossible distance for night engagement, 6 American destroyers of Destroyer Squadron 54 ignite the night and charge. They are small ships, 2,200 tons each, thin-skinned, armed with 5-inch guns that should break like twigs against the armored giants ahead. Yet they come on at 35 knots. Torpedoes already sliding from tubes, the sea boiling white beneath their bows. This was the last battleship night action in history, the final chapter of the Battle of Leyte Gulf, and the moment when centuries of naval doctrine shattered. For decades, the battleship had reigned as the ultimate expression of sea power. 35,000 tons of steel, 14 and 16-inch rifles that could hurl a shell the weight of an automobile 20 miles. Nishimura's force embodied that tradition. Yamashiro and Fuso had been laid down when Woodrow Wilson was president. Their crews believed in the decisive gun duel, in the massed broadside delivered at 10,000 yards after polite spotting salvos. They expected, if anything, to meet American battleships resurrected from Pearl Harbor, not these impertinent greyhounds racing straight into the jaws of certain annihilation. What they met, instead, was a doctrine born in the democratic chaos of an industrial republic. American destroyers had trained for exactly this: the high-speed torpedo attack under radar control. At 0301, the first long-lance equivalents, American Mark 15 torpedoes, were already in the water, 10 of them from USS Melvin and McGowan alone, running hot and straight at 35 knots. Minutes later, Yamashiro erupted in flame as 3 torpedoes tore her guts open. Fuso broke in half under a similar hammer blow, her stern and bow rising like praying hands before they slid beneath the surface. Nishimura, stunned, flashed the signal, "We proceed until totally annihilated," still believing the enemy would close to gun range and allow the big rifles to speak. They never did. American records are clinical in their precision. Desron 54 and Desron 24 fired 72 torpedoes in the opening minutes. 47 found the water cleanly, and at least 10 struck home. Rear Admiral Jesse B. Oldendorf, waiting beyond with his old battleships, never needed to fire more than a few salvos. The destroyers had already crippled the Japanese column. Japanese logs recovered after the war record the disbelief. Captain Bonzo of the destroyer Shigeru, sole survivor of the Vanguard, wrote in his action report, "Enemy destroyers attacked with reckless courage. They charged our battleships as though they were equals." Vice Admiral Nishimura's last radio message, intercepted and preserved in American archives, was a single word repeated in anguish: tin cans, tin cans. And through the smoke and the burning oil drifted the recurring emblem of the night. The small, wax-lined cardboard carton of American orange juice carried in every destroyer's general mess. Cases of it were stacked below decks beside the torpedo reloads, 10,000 cartons per ship on long patrols, a trivial luxury that required no brewing, no refrigeration, only the casual abundance of a nation that squeezed fruit by the millions of gallons and sent it to sea in throwaway containers. Japanese sailors, whose own wardrooms had long since given up sugar and whose men drank rainwater caught in tarpaulins, tasted captured cartons in the aftermath and could not comprehend the waste of it, the sheer profligacy. One prisoner, Lieutenant Commander Shigeru Sasaki of the Yamashiro, interrogated aboard USS Nukem, stared at the bright label and whispered to his guard, "You fight a war,
and still have oranges?
The shock rippled upward through the Imperial Navy's chain of command. In Tokyo, Admiral Toyota read the reports and understood for the first time that material superiority had become tactical superiority. That American industry did not merely build more ships, it built a different kind of sailor, one who could throw his destroyer at a battleship because he knew 10 more waited in reserve, because his mess tech still carried fruit juice as if the war were a minor inconvenience. The old certainties. Steel thicker than any torpedo, guns that outranged the horizon, dissolved in burning oil south of Puna'an Island. When dawn finally came to the Surigao Strait, the sea was littered with wreckage and the bodies of 10,000 Japanese sailors. Only Shigure limped away. American destroyers, scarred but afloat, circled the debris field, picking up survivors they had no obligation to save, handing out canteens of fresh water and those same cardboard cartons of orange juice. In that small act of calculated plenty, the lesson was complete. The nation that could send fragile destroyers to charge dreadnoughts was the same nation that could give its enemies something to drink after destroying them. And somewhere beneath the turning screws of the victorious fleet, the empty juice cartons bobbed among the oil slicks, bright, garish, impossible. The final, quiet proof that freedom's deepest strength is not its battleships, but the abundance that makes even its smallest warriors fearless, and its mercy, in victory, as lavish as its thunder.